Hey, good morning. I thought I'd check in just a couple minutes early and just give us a chance to chat before we actually get into today's topic. It's one of those that, quite frankly, it's like I think of us as all of us are Ferraris, and sometimes we lack the gas to get us to our destination, or we struggle to get there. Maybe we get some low octane fuel in there. And today we're going to talk about something that we were taught at a very young age, only unfortunately we were taught unconsciously. And we were taught about money. And sometimes these language tracks, 30, 40, and yes, even 50 years later or more, are still really kind of ruling our lives. So we're gonna talk about money today, and really keep working on that whole thing of our scripts in our head that play automatically, that we need to change those. We need to start putting scripts in there that make sense to us and help us get us to our goal instead of away from our goal. And it's no different than if we were driving somewhere. Like I was in LA on Tuesday, and even though now I tend to know where I'm going for this client in Los Angeles, I always put in the GPS. And the reason I do is for a couple of reasons. One is it is sensing that maybe there's traffic ahead, there's an accident, or maybe there's a faster route and to take an exit that maybe I hadn't taken in the past. Maybe there's some construction that I'm not aware of. Well, that GPS picks that up. And I think of that a lot of times of like the universe and our thoughts in our head. If we can start changing those scripts, it will change our outcome, and it might actually help move us away from things that maybe up until now in life have been a little bit challenging. So we have a few folks already on. I appreciate that this morning. Please do me a favor in the chat. Just give me a point of, hey, where are you? I'd love to say hello to you this morning, and not call you out, but make this as personal as possible. As you know, this is called Spirituality at Ground Level. And my background on this is I am somebody who has studied the science of mind through the Center of Spiritual Living for about 14 or 15 years. And prior to that, really all of my life, I've always been on that side of the science of mind, or mental science, and positive thinking and things of that nature, and goal setting. And there have been some changes like meditation. I was never somebody who did a lot of meditating until I really got into the science of mind. And so with that, my goal with this show today and each episode is to say, hey, this is me taking it outside of the church or the center, from being taught by, one of the practitioners or the ministers, and really putting it into play, and then coming back and saying, hey, this is what I found out, and this is how it really worked for me in life. And at the same time, I want to really have you participate in this conversation and share how it works for you. So Krista, let's go ahead and get started. Let's bring up that first slide, huh? So today, I thought I'd have a little fun with this. If you know me, I do like to have a little fun, and I have a bit of a sense of humor. So, hey, I'm curious, what's your relationship with money? Now, I'm just asking for a friend. And when I talk about, relationship, is a lot of times we don't think about money as a relationship type of thing. Hey, good morning, Linda, off to Vermont. Thank you for sending that beautiful picture and reminding me that, hey, you're taking one last walk in the desert before you head to Vermont. We love you and pray for your safe passage, and that everything about you becomes this energy of healing. And we just love you. So anyway, this whole thing about relationship it's one of these things that we don't often think about, money and a human being having a relationship, but we really do. And I'm just curious where you are in this whole relationship process. So as an example, let's see the next slide. So the question is, where are you on this relationship scale with money? Are you at that warm, fuzzy place? You're at that warm, fuzzy feeling. It's one of those things that you may be one of these people that you just know you want something, or you say, hey, we need to do this, and somehow the money that is necessary appears, and you always have an abundance of money. And it's never about the money, it's about living life knowing that, just like that GPS, it will always guide you on your best path with least amount of detours, unless you need that detour to make that experience even greater. And it just seems to be easy for you. My wife is like this, and I just love her to death for this, because she tends to, she'll say, well, we want to do this. And in my head, and I'll get to this in a minute, in my head, I think, well, wait a second, how am I going to pay for that? I've got to do this, and I have to add this many new clients, or I have to work this, or whatever it might be. She doesn't care. She just says, hey, this, she puts a date on the calendar. Next thing you know, we're either in the car or on a plane, pre-COVID, and we're just going and doing. And that's what I love about her. And for me, yeah, my relationship money is, I tend to probably keep one foot on the brake, and one foot on the gas a little bit too much. And I'm working on that. This is, as we'll talk about this is not like flipping a light switch that, hey, it goes from a dark room to a light room, or vice versa. It is a process. So I'm curious, how many of you that are with us today, you feel like your relationship with money is warm and fuzzy, never really worried about it? You just live life. You know it'll always be there at the end of the month. You got plenty of money. All your needs are met. Just do me a favor in the chat. Just put either a Y for yes or an N for no. I'd love to hear about that. And whenever we participate, we have we learn more. And one of the things, and I just picked this up the other day, I knew it to be true, but it's one of those things, the teacher tends to be the best student. In other words, we tend to, as when we're teaching something, there are major learning moments that maybe we had as a blind spot before. Yeah, definitely, Linda. Yeah, you're a beautiful example of that. Thank you so much. And so as we do this, let's go to that next slide. So the next one is, hey, are you on again or off again? And I even thought about putting, a picture of a roller coaster there. It's like, one minute you got plenty of money, the next minute you don't, and you're stressing out. And it's just almost like a tug of war. You're winning, then you're losing. You're winning, then you're losing. And it's always something that's a bit of a grind, but you do have some high moments. You have those times where, hey, life is good. Maybe you've had this major windfall, out of the blue, here comes some money from whether it's a 401k you forgot about 25 years ago that's now matured, or somebody, God forbid, relative had passed away that you didn't even know you had, and they send you a check for 25 grand or whatever. But then you're back in that cycle again. And this could be, when we talk about relationship with money, it could also be your career, because that is a source. It could be a source of that revenue. So I'm curious now, are you one of those people that are on again, off again? You're not totally in love, and the whole relationship with money is just easy. It's just carefree. It's like that first week of falling in love with somebody that you just met. Everything is good no matter what they do. Everything is wonderful. Or is there that on again, off again, on again, almost like a roller coaster? I'm curious if anybody's out there like that. Put a Y in there. I have to admit, I'm probably one of these people. The cool thing about this is, through these teachings, I've become more aware of how important the language is, and that I need to take a look, not at what I'm saying, but that's there already, and try to change that, but say, wait a second, maybe I need to do something different. And I'll get to that here in a second. So I'm curious, are you an on again, off again? If you are, just put it in the chat with a Y. Let's see that next one. This is, this is the one, it just ain't happening. No matter what you do, you can't seem to get ahead. It's like Eeyore, oh, poor me. And I can hear Dr. Laura saying that, when she says that, she's pretty cute when she does that. But it's just not happening, no matter what you do. It seems like you never get the breaks. It's just not coming together. And here's the coolest part of all three of these. Wherever you're at in this, it can change. You can change. And it doesn't have to be a forever thing unless you keep doing the same things over and over again. Because here are the facts. If you're expecting different results, but you're doing the same thing over and over again, Einstein says that is the definition of insanity, and that will drive you crazy. If you're in this particular situation, if this is your relationship, hey, it just isn't happening, then yeah, it can drive you crazy because you're trying things and they're not working. But here's the thing. If I gave you an assignment and said, hey, I'd love for you to do me a favor, and I want you to take this package that I have, and I want you to take it to a certain address. And I give you the box and I give you the address, but then I give you a map of the wrong city. How long before you would be able to deliver that package? And along the way, how frustrated would you become? Now, keep in mind, I didn't tell you what city to deliver to, and I didn't tell you the name of the city on the map. You are just wandering around hoping something good will happen. And if you're in that it just ain't happening type of thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what it feels like. You have a map to a treasure that doesn't exist, or you're actually in the wrong ocean. You're looking for this treasure, this relationship, if you will, in the Pacific, and it's in the Atlantic. It's down by Puerto Rico. I guess that would technically be the Caribbean, but you're in the wrong place. So we're going to talk about that today. Let's go to the next slide. So I want to talk about the language of money. And I want to give you an example. Many years ago, my wife and I said, hey, we want to learn Spanish because here in the Coachella Valley, we have a lot of people that speak Spanish, and it's nice to have an understanding of the language. So, we tried, we went to some classes and things like that, but it just it didn't seem to work so well. And so we said, hey, there is this school of language in Baja, down in Rosarito. So what we did is we said, hey, let's book us for a week. And we went down there and we actually lived with a family for a week. And then every day we were actually, hey, I'm glad, Timid Habitat, good morning, hey, and Carefree, I love that. I want you to really chime in on this and let me, we start talking about the language. Let us know the language you have in your head, because those are clues. Success always leaves clues. All right, so we're back to this situation. We said, hey, we're going to go through an immersion process. And so we went 7 days. We lived with this family. They wouldn't speak English to us. That was their whole thing. They couldn't speak English to us. Well, at the end of the week, now, were we fluent in Spanish? Absolutely not. But what we found is on about the third, maybe the fourth morning, when we would get up for breakfast, we were sitting in the kitchen, eating with Blanca, and we were watching the TV, and we were watching in Spanish, and we kind of understood what was going on. And that was really what we wanted. We wanted to have an understanding of this language. So when we heard it, we could recognize and at least somewhat participate a little bit and start to understand that. Well, money has that same process, the money language. And as we go to the next slide, so the language we use to communicate with money, and go ahead and leave it large like that. So the language you use to communicate with money. Let me know if this is you or is it different. Let's see that first one. Just hit click, just click it. There we go. Our language either attracts or repels money. So I'm curious, what would a phrase be that you use to attract money? Let's just state it right there. Okay. What phrase would you use? And now, Carefree Habitat, I believe that was the name there. I'm curious on what your language is that you use to attract money. What do you use? And I'd love for you to put that in there, because it is very different. It truly is like walking into a room and it is either light or dark. It's that different, the type of money. And around that statement, we've all had that happen. Somebody said a statement and it gives you a warm feeling inside. Somebody, the same person with the same tonality, can say something totally different, and we have a totally different feeling inside. One could be very happy and elated. One could be very sad and just take the energy out of our bodies. I'm curious, what is a powerful statement that is being used that helps attract that money? So please share it in the comment. And then also, while you're doing that, I'm just curious, hey, what is a phrase that repels money? As a kid growing up, my dad worked in the oil business, and we moved around a lot. And it was always one of those things that I didn't really get this, but I would ask for things just like other kids, and I'd say, hey, can I have this? And the response was, you don't need it. So guess what? I grew up as someone who, if I'm going to spend money and I don't need it, or I would use that, do I need it or I don't need it? And you can leave it large. And I would say, well, I don't really need a new pair of shoes. The ones I have are working fine. I don't need a new whatever. This one I have will get me by. I can probably work around that. And unfortunately, I still have some of those tendencies. I'm curious, is there anybody out there, or am I the only one who is what I'll call a need buyer or a need person? I only take that step when I'm a need person. Because there was a point when I was fortunate, I did very, very well in a particular industry that I was in. And there was a point where I felt a little guilty about doing certain things and spending money on things. I thought, wow, that's wasteful, that's lavish. And I'm curious if that's ever happened to you. Now, like I said, I'm a recovering on again, off again a money relationship person. So I'm trying to work into, I am working into the one that is like Habitat, carefree, that I know whatever happens, it'll always be taken care of. Financially, I'll be fine. Everything's going to be great. Anything I need and want will come to me. And if it requires money, I'll have that coming too. Wow. Is that a relationship conversation? Is that a word or a phrase that I could put into my language, that you could put into your language? Absolutely. Now, let's go to that next slide. And as you see me looking over, I just have a larger version of this. So the pre-recorded money messages, I kind of touched on that, is when we were younger, and let's leave this slide large so that they can see that. When we were younger, up until about the age of 7, we are like this sponge. Anything we hear, see, becomes who we are. So as I mentioned, and I don't blame anybody, I'm just using it as a reference. When my parents talked about money, or maybe they're arguing about money, or they're telling me money doesn't grow on trees, or you don't need this, or we can't afford this. When those kind of things are said, guess what? It starts imprinting into our brains, and this becomes our recorded messages. So whenever we're in a situation that requires us to spend money, and this is our language, then that will create our outcome. Because remember, thoughts mixed with emotion and action taken will result in an outcome. And Linda, expression of abundance grows energy of abundance. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So Linda, I'm curious, can you share with us, I don't know if you're on your phone, if you're still out in the middle of the woods or the desert, but can you give us an example of how you would express, what's an expression of abundance and how that grows? I'd love to hear that. So think about that. When we go back up until about the age of 7, we are actually hearing these messages, and they're going on our brain. And a couple weeks ago, last week we talked about how many thoughts a day go through our head, 60 to 90,000 thoughts. And most of those are repeat from yesterday, and yesterday's yesterday. And then there's a percentage of those that are negative. Now, you may know this and you may not know this, but I'm curious if you knew or know, by the age of 4, do you know how many times the average child hears the word no? Psychologists tell us 4,000 times. So that's why, if you think about it, it's like, you as a small child, and you're walking over, you're about ready to touch something. What does the parent say? No, 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 no. It's not their fault. It's just that's what they do. So when we grow up, we use that a lot. No. You walk into a store. May I help you? No. Do you need some? No. How's it going to help you? No. Whatever it is, that tends to be our response. When we understand that and where that came from, we can say, wait a second. Is this getting us where we want to go, or do we want to change things? Our language, go within to create without. And it's one of those things, is like, if a plant is not producing leaves and buds and flowers, where do we go? We go to the root system and we say, are we nurturing the roots, or are we just feeding the top of the plant? The best place to go is our roots. In our roots, it's our thoughts. So we want to look and say, hey, are our thoughts producing our outcome? Well, the easiest thing to do, and we talked about this last week, is say, hey, if my relationship with money isn't that loving, carefree relationship like Linda and Habitat, then we need to think, okay, I need to change, or I want to change my language around money then. So Linda says, giving, time and treasure, emphasize worthiness to receive. Worthiness is a very powerful magnet. Boy, that is so true, Linda, because, if you think about that, we've all heard this law of attraction. In fact, Dr. James Mellon, our guest speaker that was teaching the Raymond Hollywell's book, The 11 Laws, the whole idea of attraction is, if you are negative, you are going to attract more negativity into your life. If you're unhealthy, you're going to attract more unhealthy things in your life. If whatever, you're going to attract that. Well, here's the polar opposite of that, because I always think it's like a coin. There are two sides to the same coin. And so we just flip it and say, well, if I want to attract positive things, then I need to start thinking positive, speaking positively, and as Linda said, acting positively. And because I'm taking that activity, things like that will start coming in my life. Will it be automatic? Will it be overnight? No, but you'll be surprised what will happen. The other part you might be surprised with is sometimes, and this might be a little bit uncomfortable for some of you, because they've supported your story for maybe days, weeks, months, decades, is some of your friends might fall away when all of a sudden you become, oh, you're Mr. Positive, or you're Mrs. Positive. Everything is a glass half full instead of a glass half empty. What happened to you? Well, that's okay. That is an indication you're starting to make that shift. Let's go to that next slide. So here's the thing. It's never too late. I think of Colonel Sanders. If you think of Colonel Sanders, what is that? That's Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think he was a person that I think he was 67 years old before he actually got his restaurant up and running, Kentucky Fried Chicken. He enjoyed most of the success afterwards, but he kept getting those rejections. My question is, why did he keep going? And now this is that. I don't know if you've ever heard of or if you read the book. And now it escapes me. It'll come to me in just a second. Think and Grow Rich. There's a secret in there, and doggone it, I was hoping that he would just not make the secret so hard to find. But here's the real secret, and it's nothing more than math. If we think of math of 1 + 1 = 2, everybody knows that. But if we say 1 + blank = 2, again, we would know that. So if we say knowledge plus blank equals transformation, most people that are struggling are in category 2 or certainly in category 3. They're not sure of that blank. Information plus blank equals transformation. What I encourage you to say, hey, how do we start changing the language, and how does it support us so when we are up against those negative things, we can make those changes? Decide who you are working to become. Is it to become a well-known speaker? Is it to become more healthy? Is it to become a better relationship? Is it becoming financially free? And don't just stop there. what is that life like? I remember I was in this 7-day intensive workshop, and in that process, we had to sit down, and it took a while. We had to write out our perfect, ideal day, and I had to do it many times because remember, I'm in need. Oh, I don't need a limo to come pick me up. I don't need, this kind of vehicle. And I had to stop doing that. I had to start saying, this is really, if I had if I had one of those little black cards, that there was no limit and I could live whatever I wanted to do, I had to keep rewriting that. Because what happens is those are the things that inspire us to get out of bed and do what we love to do every day. That's what gets Linda out of bed, and she goes on that hike because she knows that's why she lives. She goes out and she is inspired by nature, and she shares this with so many people. So I want you to know it's never too late. It's almost like if you walk in a room and there's a light bulb out. Is that light bulb just toast? No. What do? You change it, and then you turn the switch back on. What do you have? You have light. So I want to inspire you to know that, hey, it's never too late. Hey, I know some of you that are with me, you're saying, wow, Jeff has never spoken this long. You're probably right. I thought I would take a little bit more time today and really go through this. Let's go to this next slide. So this next slide is having a positive money relationship recordings. And I talked about this last week about saying, hey, I want you to examine your life and say, in the areas of my life that aren't where I want them to be, what if I started changing the recordings? And let me give you an example. Many years ago, and some of you know me, I was in the golf industry. I was a golf pro for many, many years. And I started saying, hey, you know what? I want what's on the other side of that fence. I want a different life. And so what I did is I started asking people who were on the other side of that fence and who had the life I was looking for. I started asking, what did they do? How were they thinking? And I started implementing some of those things. And one of the things that they said that I started doing, and at first I felt a little bit, quite honestly, I felt like a fake. I started saying I am, and then fill that in. In this case, I was investing in real estate. And the phrase I had to say is, I am a professional real estate investor. Now, in my mind, a professional real estate investor is somebody who does more than one deal a year. That's a casual. I was fortunate. I got very busy my first year, and I think we did 7 or 8 deals. And then the following year, we did another probably 10 or 12. And in all, we did over 500 transactions because I kept telling myself, I am a professional real estate investor. So I'm curious, for you, if you put in I am, what blank will you put in there? I am. That gets you there. So when we do this, let's go to that first one. Something that you might put in there that it creates a positive relationship. Money comes to me easily and effortlessly. And again, when you say this, it may feel like, it really doesn't. It's okay. It's like me when I started that immersion class in Spanish. I wasn't watching the morning, TV with Blanca. I didn't get it. It was just noise, right? But money comes to me easily and effortlessly. And these are just examples. Let's go to the next one. Some of you who are very philanthropic, and I would love for you to be like this. Money is a resource that helps me help others. And it may be one of those things you love to invest. So you see people that have, the brain power or the energy, and you say, I want to have enough money that I could help those people, and it will not change my lifestyle. Could be something like that. Let's go to the next one. This is one I use, and I'm starting to use even more. Making decisions about money comes to me easily. Making decisions about money comes to me easily. This is one where sometimes my wife, and bless her heart, thank you for staying with me as long as you have. Her patience, I know, I have to put that back in, that probably her patience is thin. But she would ask me questions that would involve money, and what I would do is I'd drag my feet. Well, I'll think about it, and then I would ignore it, hoping it would go away. Well, you know what happens when you ignore something? It's almost like stagnant water. It starts to take on a funny color, and sometimes it starts to stink. So for me, my goal is now making those decisions quicker because it comes to me easy to make those kind of decisions, right? So that's a burden off of my back. Because the last thing I want to do is be going down the freeway and all of a sudden your co-pilot, who's a navigator, said, oh, you should have taken that turn. It's too late. Get us involved early and say, hey, 3/4 of a mile. Think about your nav system. Sometimes it's 2 miles is your exit. Half a mile is your exit. Turn now. Well, we want to have those same type of things. For me, making decisions about money comes to me easily. Let's go to the next one. And this is a little bit of a different twist on there. I have one that says, I know what I need to know whenever I need to know it. And this one, I know what I need to know about money whenever I need to know it. And this might be coming up with saying, hey, could I invest in this? Could I invest in this to help my education, to help me to go to the next level? Is this a missing cog in my wheel? But I'll know what I need to know about money whenever I need to know it. Boy, it feels relaxing to say that out loud. Remember I said earlier, sometimes a teacher is the best student. I get the best stuff out of this, so I apologize. But these are things that I think that can really make a difference. And again, this is not me coming from Center for Spiritual Living or I'm a psychologist. I'm saying, hey, I have studied these things now for, I hate to admit it, 40 plus years, and blending them together, knowing that science and religion or spirituality are truly walking hand in hand. This is how I'm applying them, and I hope they can help you. Let's go to that next one. It says, there are many others. What are some, well, it just says, hey, there are many others. What are some you would like to share and be part of your new recording? So this is that participation time. What sayings do you have that you say, and again, they may be unconscious. They just happen. They're just easy for you. I would love for you to share, everybody, we have 3 people in here and other people that are watching this down the road. If you would just share one in the comments that works for you. Do you realize what that does? Is it helps us who are trying to move to that next level, who are moving that next level, to say, hey, I will adopt what you're saying because it's working for you. There's the proof. And let it be part of my saying. So I'd love for you to share that as you're thinking about this. What's one positive money relationship recording? I'd love for you to share that. All right, let's go to the next one. So what's the next step? Well, first of all, I want to give you a quick story. I mentioned I was in the golf industry, and many times when I would work with people that are in golf, that would come out and take lessons, they were looking for that instant fix. And in many cases, no matter what level of golfer they were, there is a learning curve. And so I started studying how our brain changes. Oh, I love this. Linda, with so much abundance in the universe, why not me? That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you, Linda. Please, the rest of you, if you have one, or if you have more, Linda, please share those. So I want to tell you this quick story. Well, first of all, when people would come and play golf, they would want to learn something. There's something new. And I would explain to them when they were a little bit frustrated, we would say, hey, they were upset because they thought the lesson didn't work. And I was one of those people who I taught lessons based on the laws of physics, right? If you do X, Y will happen. There's tons of proof. And unless you're physically disabled, then you can get that too. I'll give you an example. People would come and they want to hit the ball straighter. Well, to hit the ball straight, you have to have the club moving down the target line with a club face 90 degrees of angle of your target line when you hit it, so it goes straight, because the only spin it has is backspin. When the ball goes crooked, it has side spin. So if it's not going straight, you know you're not doing this. So the goal is not to eliminate those things, but to get better at going down the line with the club face square. Doesn't that sound familiar? We're not trying to extract the bad thoughts. We're just trying to replace them with the right new activities. Just like we said last week and maybe the week before, I said, we don't have to tear out the roots of the old thoughts. We just have to start replacing them with the new thoughts and do them consciously. And what will happen is our path for the new will become stronger and stronger. And that other path, like a path when you're going up, when Linda's out there and she's on a path that hasn't been traveled very much, it starts to grow over naturally. And when she comes back next year, she'll look out there and say, wow, the path is gone because nobody traveled on that path. So the first step, let's go to this, is the first step is unconscious incompetence. Now, What does that mean? Well, that means that you don't even know what you don't know mentally, and physically you can't do it. So you're unconsciously incompetent. So if you're in that stage 2 or 3 of money, you may be unconscious that you have some bad languages and that the way you handle money is improper. So you're unconsciously incompetent. As a golfer, I'd say, hey, just because I showed you what was going on, let's use that example of hitting it straight. I would ask them, do you know how to hit the ball straight? And they would give me all, I mean, you can't even imagine how many different ways they would tell me, oh, it's my grip, it's my posture, my stance. None of that stuff is true. Does it help if you do some of this? Yes. But at the end of the day, the ball doesn't know if you're hopping on one foot, singing your favorite song. As long as your club is going down the target line, square to that target line, the ball will go straight. That's it. So they were unconscious and incompetent. The next one is when I share that with them, and this is where most people get frustrated because now they're aware, oh, I just have to make the club go down the target line, make it go square, or change my thoughts and have them be positive, like the last slide, and grow my energy, grow my wealth knowledge and my recordings. They're conscious of that, but they're still incompetent because what's happening is that old recording is still playing. And that's what I said. For me, I still have to be aware of that my need conversation is still active. I'm conscious of it. I'm still incompetent. I know that sounds a little heavy. I'm still incompetent. I don't do it at the highest level. I'm still a high handicapper, if you will, in golf. I'm still a high handicapper in some of those things. All right. The next one is now this is a fun one. I'm conscious of what I have to do. Like this was an aha for me several weeks ago about these recordings. And it was hard when I looked in the mirror and I had to have that real life conversation of, am I where I want to be in these areas of my life? If the answer is yes, keep doing it. If the answer was no, I had to have that real hard gut check and be honest with myself and say, if I'm not where I want to be financially, it all has to go back to the roots. It has to go back to my thinking. Could be some stinking thinking. And I need to change that. When I get conscious competency, it makes it look like I have a really good thing going on, but I have to stay aware of it. I have to really still manage my thoughts. I'm still thinking about this. And I'm still thinking about this. Okay. So this is the level 3. The next one is, this is the fun part. This is where we actually strive to get there. And somebody like Linda may be living in that where it just happens, automatically, or Dr. Joe, as an example, it just happens automatically. He is unconsciously competent. And what that means is it just happens without him thinking about it. And his muscles, if you will, his money muscles are like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his peak. They're doing their thing, but he's not having to think about it. It's just happening. So money flows to him easily and effortlessly. This is where we're going to. So the reason I brought this up is because if you're in that stage where you're saying, hey, this money thing, it just ain't working, know that there is a process. And the more you do it, you're moving up this ladder, just like rungs on a ladder. You're going up every one. And know in your heart and in your mind, as you do this, the outcome will change. It has to. All right, let's go to the next slide. Let's wrap up today. So, is your relationship with money warm and loving? If it's not, do what I did. Look in the mirror, have a really hard gut check and say, if I'm not where I want to be, it's not about me working harder. It's not about you working harder. It's not because of, your boss, or it's not because of your spouse. It's not because of, who's running the country. It's not any of those things. We go to the roots. All those other things that we use as excuses, or we think that that's causing things to happen, that's like pruning at the top of the plant and wondering why the plant is still dying or not prospering. Go back to the roots and say, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, and I'm going to challenge you again, 10, just 10, you guys. Create 10 new pieces of script and then read them just before you go to bed at night. Read them with emotion, read them with feeling. And I'm going to give you a little extra juice on here. Imagine yourself, and this is where that meditation comes in. Imagine yourself already having that. What is your life like? What are the emotions you feel? Is your life calmer? Is it happier? What's it like? Do that at night before you go to bed. It's like putting food in a crock pot. You know, you do it in the morning, you come back, and all of a sudden, in the afternoon, when it's time to eat dinner, dinner's ready because it's been simmering, it's been cooking all night long. I know. Maybe it's time for me to have breakfast. I'm not sure. I get a little food analogy. Those of you who know me know, I'd probably do that too often on food analogies, but or metaphors. So the other thing is, when you wake up in the morning, please don't pick this thing up and let it be the first thing. Let me check my news or let me see the emails. Because as soon as you do that, you know what happens? You have literally given the reins to your horse to someone else. And now you're, oh, I got to send this over to Elizabeth. I got to send this to this, and I got to do this. And next thing you know, you're living the life of someone else. Instead of saying, hey, let me start out and let me just do those 10. It may take you 90 seconds, guys. I'm going to challenge you, and before we wrap up, 90 seconds before you go to bed and when you wake up. Are you worth that? Are you worth that? I think you are. I know you are. Come on, we're talking 180 seconds a day. What's that, 3 minutes? Can you invest 3 minutes to change every day, starting now, the rest of your life? I want to thank you for joining me today. It's been a lot of fun on spirituality at ground level. You know, again, this is an opportunity for me just to say thank you very much, and I would ask you to do us a favor. If you got one thing out of this, I would ask you to click the link that's in the comments and consider supporting the Center for Spiritual Living. You know, we got a lot of cool things coming up. We're excited. I don't think I can announce it yet. I think it's going to be announced this Sunday. Make sure you're there this Sunday for the live stream. They're live streaming to the center from Global Truth Center. We have Dr. James Mellon as our guest speaker again, and he's got a dynamic message. I can't wait to hear it. But check in there. I know they've got some new things going on, and just have a great week. And Linda, anybody who joined us today, you know, thank you so much. We love you. We care about each one of you. And get out there and see about changing your life. But before you do, look in the mirror and say, hey, how's this working out for me? Keep in mind, you can ask this question about every area of your life. Your relationship, not just with money, your relationship with others, your relationship with your career, your relationship with health, your relationship with, you keep naming it, spirituality. That should be number one. Where's my relationship with spirituality? Maggie, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you being here. And I hope today you just took at least one thing away that will make a difference. I'd love to hear from you. Come back and tell us, if any of these things made a difference. I know in my life, it makes a difference. So thank you all. You guys have a great week. And we hope to see you on Sunday, live streaming at 10 a.m. And if you're not sure where to go, just go to cslpalmdesert.org. And right there on the page, it says, click here to live stream. You'll be taken to the live stream page, and you can watch the live stream right there. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.